Hi everyone, welcome back to our series of interviews with AR creators. Pleased to be here again with Ant, and also our guest today is Kevin, all the way from India. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, really good, thanks. Super excited to learn a bit more about your career and also what the market's like in India. But yeah, how about we just jump in and get started?
Yeah, sure.
So Kevin, could you tell us a little bit about your career so far?
So actually, I started Spark AR at the end of my final semester, where it's like basically I was into AR and stuff on my final semester. I was like looking into stuff where like I want to move into the technology I want to move into. So I just found AR as an interesting aspect because like it's easy to work on, it's like engaging with the user. So I started those stuff at the end of 2018. So from then on, I just graduated on 2019. As soon as I graduated, I got a job on an agency in India, which is like on India, it's Alive Now, the agency is called. We are Spark AI partners in India, early Spark AI partners in India. So it's been like 1.5 years I've been working in the agency, and like 2 years it's been I started like in the AI journey. It's been like, yeah, it's good. It's going good still now.
That's great. And was it difficult initially for you to get into AR, or did you pick it up quite easily?
So I was doing as a computer science as a major, like my degree was a computer science based.
Okay.
So like majorly I started with Unity and stuff. That time, like mostly on India, the devices are like pretty different, like the ratio when it compares to like we have more Android devices. So like when we comes to like Unity based AR things, it that time during 2018 only it was like available on like high end devices.
Yeah.
So I was like searching for an alternative where like everyone can use an AI. Like that, I just came across Spark. It was like easy for beginners and like users like Spark, Lens Studio. Those are like easy for anyone to use as it's already integrated with the mobile device. Because
Okay.
now in the current technology, like every device is supported for any AI devices, but when it was in 2018, only like few selective devices were supported for these kind of thing.
So is India mainly an Android market, and has that's really affected on how you've kind of started to work in AR then?
Yeah, it's actually like India is like most of the market is because when comparing to US or like other countries in India, the iOS are like twice the amount, kind of like the rate is over here is like expensive. Like even SE is compared like the rate of an SE is equivalent to some branded like Samsungs or like those starting level premium phones. It's like 30K over here. Like SC is like when it was like now it reduced, but it is currently it's like 30,000 rupees on Indian money, where we can get a good Samsung mobile or like flagship, like basic flagship on that amount. So the market on Android is more when compared to the iOS market. So because like when it
Because
comes to this, it is like difficult kind of.
because some of our viewers might not understand that there's actually quite a big difference between Android and iPhones, and um, in the past, and it's getting better now, isn't it? But when we first kind of started working on this, Android devices were very difficult to build AR on. There was lots of problems, wasn't there? Lots of things with segmentation wouldn't work on people's phones and things like that. So it's, I mean, I've been so lucky that the main kind of market in the UK is iPhone, and it works a lot better. But it's been a challenge, hasn't it, over the last couple of years, really?
Yeah, it's like on India, it's just like most of the major market is like India is a huge market for like any devices because like we are the second largest country and we have more devices over here. We have more cheap Android devices, which is like more than like less than $100 if we convert it to dollars. We have more proper touchscreen like smart devices that are hundred that are less than $100 or like under oh yeah $100. So like people tend to go there more than the iOS market, and still yeah we have still the segmentation is not a big issue, right? Like now people are gradually moving, but the devices are also like getting more updated and like more technology is coming.
And for you personally, what have you always kind of worked more with one or the other in terms of Spark AR or Lens Studio, or depends on the client, or how do you split between the platforms?
So I started Lens Studio like this Jan, like 2020 Jan, like 2020 December, and I started it because like I was working more on Spark AR and other stuff, like mostly Spark AR a lot. Then I want to like try Lens Studio because on India, like Snap is not a big market.
Right.
Like, so I don't use personally, I don't use Snap. Like even currently I use Snap because of the filters I make. I just, for testing it and sharing the stuff, I use Snap. More than that, we don't use Snap a lot. So the Snap, after coming to the industry, like after knowing about the advantages on Snapchat, it's like the Lens, which is like more advanced when compared to Spark AR. They have so many extra features. So I wanted to learn and started doing it on the December end, and then I've been starting doing it more now. But even when comparing to on India, like Instagram and Facebook as the largest market when compared to Snap, even for in terms of filters or stuff like that.
And in terms of like the support, yeah, from what you're saying, it sounds like Spark AR were there kind of earlier than Lens Studio. But in terms of the community support, I mean, do you find that there's a lot of investment now into India to really grow that market, especially for augmented reality?
Actually, additional to this, so we have a educational system called CBSE, like it's a standard board which currently like allows the users to, like, the teachers are now learning Spark AR or like AR platforms to like teach students. On during this lockdown, they released like they were like completely changed the educational system on India. And on that CBSE board, the teachers has to like learn some kind of AR, so they can just teach those AR to the users, like students, through AR, like teaching through AR. So even now, like Spark AR, I know a person, like there is an organization called sp.co who does mostly like they share the Facebook based technologies on India. It's sponsored by Facebook. So they were like having an one-on-one course on Spark AR on India. It is a certification based course. So those people are now helping the teachers to learn Spark AR and AR, so they can integrate it with the course, like teaching along with the AR.
That's great. It's great to hear. And in terms of the Indian market, I mean, is augmented reality something that's really interesting to a lot of brands for advertising in India? Or is it difficult with the kind of the difference of quality of the devices you have?
So basically, like on India, it's people still now, only few people knows it as an AR.
Okay.
So the term AR itself is not really popular over here. They just think it's some kind of filters, or like some people think it's just an app to do that. But the market is there because like brands are like coming more and more, and there's so many agencies are like emerging over here, and like as India is a huge market, like brands are coming more and more into AR, as it's Facebook and Instagram, which is like most popular. Like Facebook is like huge community on India, so it's like easy to reach those people via Facebook filters or like Facebook ads. So they're coming into more into it, as like most of the people on like social media are using these filters. People are like seeing it and trying it over there. Mostly like the influencers are like kind of teaching the people to like use these stuff,
yeah,
into like the AR market and stuff on advertisement stuff.
And do you do a lot of, is a lot specific to India, or are you working on AR effects for places like China or Australia or other countries?
So my agency works all around the world. We have clients around the world. Like, it's not particularly around India. It's like all over the world.
And in terms of kind of what have been some of the favorite effects that you create, where do you get your inspiration from, and what have been some of those favorite effects you've created?
So one of my favorite effects is called love hands. I have it. It's basically like two hands just pop out of the ground and form a love sign. It's like basically that I did for a Valentine's Day. It was like even currently like people are love is what like joins everyone around the world. So that denotes that love hands. So that is one of my favorite effects. Then generally I tend to see things on my real world and like think how this will be modified, how it will look if it is modified. For example, I was like normally like was seeing through some post on Instagram and stuff like that. Then I came across like few posts where like mirrors were like people were playing with mirrors. Then I thought like, why can't we use an AR mirror? Because like those kind of things will be good on AR, because like I feel AR or VR, like basically it's like modifying our reality to our needs.
Yeah.
We can customize the reality based on our needs, because like we can't customize our own reality with what we have. So we can use technologies to modify and customize the reality. So like I get inspiration through sometimes seeing through people like having things, or like movies mostly. I watch a lot of movies and series a lot. So from there and here, like I just combine most of the stuff and I just do filters based on that.
And what in terms of the brands you're working with, what type of effects do you see them requesting? Is it still a lot of kind of face filters, or it seems that the Snap and people like Facebook, they're really trying to push now more world AR experiences, or have brands yet to catch up?
So mostly it's like front facing based, rarely based on the brands, the back camera based filters comes, because like even now the back tracking camera, like the plane tracking is not good on like when comparing to like other platform, it's not as much as like good, because like it's not stable on every devices.
Yeah.
Only on like high-end, maximum high-end devices it is pretty stable, but it's not purely stable. But on high-end devices it's somewhat stable. So when comparing to like Indian market, when it comes to like back camera, not based on the brand, things changes. Mostly it's mostly a front camera filter. And like world AR is like we do world AR, but it's less when comparing to other kinds of filters what we do.
Yeah, well, I guess it's still quite new, and so there's that. I guess there'll be that catch-up process, especially if devices aren't able to kind of cope with some of that world AR experiences. In terms of your creative process, what are some of your favorite kind of apps and tools? I mean, are you working with Blender or Cinema 4D, or what are some of those tools that you use part of your creative process?
So I use Blender for most of my 3D works. I love it, pretty much love it, and I use Photoshop or most of these stuff apps to use it. Mostly like I do most of the times I'm just a developer kind of, so I do less kind of like creative aspect. I came across like I started doing like designing or 3D model after entering into the AR field. So like it's kind of like I'm interested towards that. So I use like Blender a lot when compared to other things.
You talked about that as well, Anne, in terms of, because I think if you're very sound at being able to develop and kind of create the effect, but then maybe sometimes it's great to partner up with someone that can make a beautiful 3D design.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, sometimes you've got different types of creators. We talk about this who are really specifically good at certain things, and it can be great because of our community is so big. There's always someone you can kind of reach out to and say, look, I've got this amazing animation, but I can't get the Spark platform to work properly, or there's a problem with the project and I don't know what to do. And there's always someone in the community who will either jump in and help, or you can partner up with. And there's such a great support network that, you kind of learn a lot of stuff along the way as well. I find that if there's something that you're not very good at, you can start to learn by asking people questions and getting help from some of the guys in the forums. And before you know it, you're really good at some new stuff. I've started using a program called Nomad. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's a iPad 3D modeler that Liamo sent me. One of the guys, he's an AR developer in London, and he sent me the link to it, and I've downloaded it on my iPad last week, and I've just started doing all my 3D modeling on Nomad now, and it's brand new. It's a brand new thing, and there's just so much out there that, like, it's mind-boggling sometimes how many great tools there are.
Yeah, it's like as you told, like when comparing to like Snap filters, like Facebook Spark AR has a huge community. Like I started working with the community a lot. I work with what Mark Whitefield has helped me a lot in 3D modeling and stuff. Like it's a huge community over there, and people are like so many advanced like 3D artists are there, creators are there, like artists are there. So it's actually like kind of fun collaborating with them, because I've done more than like 3 to 4 filters collaborating with each developers or like 3D models, artists, like 2D artists and stuff like that. it's kind of like learning from each other, because like the community is so huge that if you take any software, at least few people will be know about that. So like for example, Nolan, like if you ask any questions about like Cinema 4D, someone will just come and help you with that. If you ask about any software, because like it's a huge community, people can just there's so many different kind of people are there, so they just help you with that, so you can easily solve it. So I personally, I don't know about anything about 2D or like images or stuff like that, 3D modeling, and I don't know anything about shaders. Till I before I started Spark AR, I don't know anything, like I don't know something there is exists called like shaders or stuff like that. So I started doing like learning about shaders and stuff. Even now I'm not an expert, but I can do simple stuff with shaders and stuff now,
Yeah.
because like I learned from the community a lot, because like people are like so many experts are there, they just help out whenever you need it or like stuff like that.
Yeah, I think, yeah, especially in kind of within the technical, the technology sector, I think even when you look at kind of iOS or Android apps, mobile apps, it's always, you're pairing a UX UI designer up with a developer to make that come together. So I guess it's similar for AR in the sense of, you might be an amazing developer, but then maybe you really need that, person that has the artistic skills to create beautiful 3D models, and then combined together, you create something amazing. So that's quite interesting to, maybe you start to see more people pairing up, or kind of teams of people collaborating in that way, which is pretty cool. In terms of looking at kind of the effects that you create, is it important to include audio with effects?
So I feel audio is actually a building block for like it depends on the filter. Like not every filter needs an audio, but for if you're making a game, if you want to make something like if the game is like pretty much like it's boring kind of, we can add an audio to make it good, look good, or like sounds good. It depends on the filter we are making, because like sometimes the filters the audio will just boost a filter, sometimes the audio will like make the filter look bad. So I feel it depends on the filter we are making, because like it's kind of storytelling, right? So sometimes we might add an audio for that, sometimes we will not be using any audio, stuff like that.
And what advice do you have for creators that are aspiring to do more brand projects?
It's like so I feel like you can just innovate or like create some different unique elements which is like different from others, because like that attracts the brands towards the creator. When it comes to like individual creator, their individuality is what it attracts people, because like if you are creating like face filters or normal filters, not everyone will be attracted towards it, because like it's like running on the same trend. Instead of it, we can just create a separate trend of like what we do. I know few creators who does only like particular kind of filters, like few people only create 3D based filters, like kind of always like makes 3D based filters is good at 3D modeling. So people can just concentrate on their advantages, and they can just do pretty good on that, because like if you want to like try different things, you can experiment with it, but even you can just concentrate on what you are good at or stuff like that.
Yeah, and do you find, especially in the Indian market, there's still quite a lot of education for brands and for people that want to get into AR, but not knowing the kind of the capabilities of AR? Still for you, a lot of education. I think that's something that you find as well, and in the UK market.
The education side of it is, it's a big part of what we're trying to do here, really, isn't it? Or what we're doing with Talent House, and bringing a little bit more guidance to how people can take what skills they've already got and turn them into AR. And a lot like what Kevin was saying earlier about coming out of university and into getting into AR, and he found the Spark platform really easy to jump onto. He's only just got into Lens Studio back in January, and he's already making these amazing effects. And a lot of that is based on the resources and community that are in place. And we're building our own kind of tutorial system, and we can see already how well that works. That on the Talent House platform, there's so many, and the Warrior Cats work that we did was so great. We had so many talented designers who just needed that little push, didn't they? They needed a little bit of guidance, and before you know it, we created those amazing Warrior Cat lenses. And Cavan's a really good example of someone who's just gone, I'm going to learn how to do this. I've got some technical skills, and with the right tutorials and the right support from the community, he's now making these amazing lenses. And one of the things I wanted to mention was your kind of love of gaming, and you made that amazing Monster Escape game.
Yeah.
On your, how did that happen? Was that part of some kind of hackathon, was it, or something? If I
Yeah, it
remember
was actually
correctly.
it was the first initial F8 hackathon was happening, right? During that time, Maru Studios Tannen was planning to do some kind of a game. So he came across he saw a board of he wanted to do a board based game. So we planned and decided to make a board game on AR, because it is fun to have a board game on AR, because users can go around and play with that. Wish we
You think
have networking in it, because we can have multiplayers, but yeah, it's like bot versus normal person.
you think there's a lot of kind of users interested in gaming on Instagram and Facebook and Lens Studio? There's been, I found that there was a little period at the start of the year where lots of games were being made. Flappy Birds, someone made a Flappy Birds game, and they really took off. And then I feel like maybe they've kind of died out a bit. Do you think that users got bored really quickly? Because even though we can make these kind of cool games, there's only so much you can do with the programming, isn't there? And they can get quite boring quite quickly. Do you think that it's something maybe that Snapchat and Spark should look at really focusing on? Because I think there's a viral game out there for Instagram that could be as big as some of these Facebook games that we've seen over the years, you know?
Yeah. So what I feel with even my game, and comparing to normal filters we make and game filters, only those particular games, one or two games are going viral. Rest of the normal games, they don't move as a normal filter, because what I have felt during this building games is that people tend to use filters for short term stuff, whereas when it comes to games, it's we have to interact with it. Whereas for the board game, if it is a separate app, the users will be interacting more. When it comes to Facebook or it comes to a filter, it's short games which is funny, or which makes users more interaction than normal collecting things will work more than normal based games. Because on Flappy Bird, there are so many varieties of Flappy Bird game, but only the initial Flappy Bird was hit. After that, there are so many falling catching games are there on the community, but when it comes to the impressions or usage, it's less when comparing to users, because we want to make something where the users interact, it's we are touching the user, they are feeling to it. Or for example, as the Flappy Bird was initially came, it was the first time the users were interacting to an old game, because Flappy Bird was one of the old games, so we used to play when we were young and stuff like that. So people have a connection towards that game. Whereas now, if you want to make some interactive games, it should be different and unique, where we are getting the attention of the user than normal falling catching game stuff like that.
Yeah. So do you think it's still an important part of what we do with filters and effects? I think a lot of the stuff, your monster game is amazing, but I think a lot of creators are they're just making the same stuff. They're just stealing ideas from other things. I think there's a new concept, a brand new viral game that could be an Instagram filter but someone just needs to think of what it is rather than just making Flappy Birds 2 or Flappy Birds 10, don't they? I think there's a game out there.
Yeah, if you see when the colorblind game came on, it was viral on Facebook.
Yeah.
Dude SG actually converted into a Instagram filter. So on that time, it was a viral game on Facebook. Because of that, those people who are playing it on Facebook started to play it on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because already there it is a viral thing, so it was new for that platform. So people tend to play more, because it's already getting viral on normal thing. So it's basically the thing is that we can't on mainly on AR market, as it's worldwide, we can't determine what will be popular or what will be will not go good, because the it is a huge market and huge creative community is there. That's the main advantage of it, because like there's so many peoples are there, it will be reaching so many peoples. So like we have to make something where like it gains the attention of all the people, like we are targeting people.
That's interesting because Facebook is a bit more of a gaming platform than Instagram, isn't it? So your
Yeah.
advice would be launch the game on Facebook first, get people playing it, and then flip it onto Instagram and do an Instagram version. And you've got more chance people will jump from Facebook onto Instagram to play an AR game. That's really
Yeah,
interesting.
because on Facebook it's like we have the basically Facebook has so many web games. We can like anyone can make a web game and like HTML5, or like there is a separate gaming for like Facebook where we can launch our own game. So once it like those color games were like a part of the HTML5 based games. So once the basically it's like on AR there is so many restrictions are there. Mainly on Instagram we have so many restrictions. Whereas like if we make any game, the users have to understand how to use the game. Basically on my game it was like difficult for users to understand what's happening, whereas if it is we have already played the game, for example we have already played the Flappy Bird, we know how it works, so the instruction is just how to control the game. So or the user already knows how the game works, so it is easy for them to like guess how it works. Whereas on other games it's like they don't know about the game itself, what the game does or like what it is. So it's like
Yeah.
we have to like connect that part, because like on Facebook already the users have played, or they are matching their colors or like picking the odd one out already, they played with all the easy UI. So when we like take already available easy UI and like we just strip off the UI and stuff, only we put the colors, they know like we are already like we have muscle memory on the game, so we can understand this is what the game is, so we can just play like this.
Yeah, and again, for some of our users who might not, some of our viewers who might not know, when you're building AR effects, there's a big issue on Snap and on Spark that you're not allowed to put custom instructions on.
Yeah.
So it's such a pain. We have this like list of standard instructions like open mouth, tap screen or something like that, but you can't edit them to say something like press play to start game or something like that. It's like, so when as you're talking about then, it's really difficult sometimes to explain a user how to play an AR game. And if you can't, if the user doesn't understand straight away how to play it, they're just going to move on to something else, aren't they? They're just going to go to another piece of content. So it is a challenge really, and that's one of the biggest barriers I think is, and this is something that I think that the team at Instagram, Spark, and Lens Studio are probably thinking about, but it's constantly in the forums, isn't it? Can't we just let us put our own instructions in, because it would make it so much easier.
Like it's kind of difficult to get the engagement from them, because like they don't know how to play it or like how it works, or we can't just post a video, because like even if we post a video, only like those people who follow us or like those people will know. But when it comes to an AR filter, you will be trying one thing and some of your followers will be seeing it and they will be trying it, and some of their followers will be seeing it and liking it, they will be trying it. So you will know the how to work, how it works. But when it comes to your followers, the understanding reduces, and when it goes to their followers, it's like reducing it still more. So like the game should be like pretty much easy for them to understand in order to go ahead. Because whereas on Spark, it is difficult on Instagram, but I don't think it's on Snap, because on Snap we can have static text. I've built one game, but because like on Spark, when comparing to Spark, is more easy to build games than Snap. On Snap they have like if you see, there is only like few kind of games that have been ever built, or so it's kind of like a similar game. Like running games is more common on Snap, whereas comparing to like Spark, there are so many kinds of game. We have like back camera skilled games, or like so many games are there. Whereas on Snap, it's like only like falling catching game or like jumping game is there. It's like, yeah, it's because people tend to use it differently things.
Yeah, no, super interesting. We'll definitely have to link some of these games that sound so fun in this article. we're running out of time. So the last two questions, in terms of kind of just advice or top tips for creators that are just starting out, what would you say to them?
I would like say, because like to explore more different things, because like when I came to the AR industry, I was like only looking into like from my perspective, but it's like exploring is the main thing over here. They have to explore different things. So in order to make a filter or like any AR content, they have to like explore different things, because there might be an easy way to achieve something.
Yeah.
That is the main thing I'll just.
And in terms of, yeah, and last question, what are you curious or excited about with the future of AR?
It's like mostly like wearable AR is what I'm just expecting a lot, because like now AR resides on an individual device and it is actually restricted based on the device. So only if you have like, for example, the face tracking is on iOS is only above iOS 10. Like iPhone 10, we can have face tracking. Whereas like when it comes to like the future, I feel like all the restrictions are like basically the creativity will be the end of the restrictions. Like we can just create whatever we want if we have an idea of what we want to do. So like I'm just hoping for like the next gen of like wearable AR, because that has more degrees of freedom and compared to device. We don't need to carry a device everywhere, because like we already have a glass. That's it. We can just explore AR and everything.
Yeah. And lastly, where can people find you? Do you post your effects on your Instagram, or do you have a website? What would you say? And we can link this in the article as well.
So like I use most of my filters on like RB Coven. It's I use on mostly I post it on Instagram, and yeah, mostly like Instagram is where I use it a lot. Yeah.
There's Cavan there on his Insta, if anyone wants to follow.
Well, yeah, we'll make sure we link it in this article. But that's fantastic, Kevin. Thank you so much for your time. It's been super interesting to learn more about the market in India and your kind of inspiration and creative process. So yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks,
Cavan.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, bye.